Thank you, Rob. And we're going to go with the first question over to Rick. Rick, Sarah, you'll answer this question. We'll go with Rick.
Okay, this is a two-part question, so I'm going to tax your memory here.
So then you only have one answer to this.
That makes sense.
We did two-part
What's the most successful, getting back to small business, what's the most successful program you've been involved with in your career, whether in politics or not, to support the formation and growth of small business? And secondly, what's the best program you've ever seen from another community outside of Ontario that has helped to promote and support small business?
Okay, well, the first part of the question, I was involved in gas stations. So I started pumping gas at 16. By the time I was 18, I started my first company. And I would go into failing service stations and turn them around and make them successful. And I was one of the first to put retail stores into the gas station industry. And what I loved about that is you would go and you'd work with these, often older gentlemen who were running these stations. And all they ever sold was oil and windshield washer fluid. And they were, not going to come out there and change their ways for some young woman that was coming in and taking over the station. But when I could introduce them to that change, and when they could own that change and have success. So we'd start off with a rack of chips, and then the next thing they would come back to me and they'd say, oh, I want to bring in a fridge or a freezer for pop and that sort of thing. You'd see that ownership. Suddenly the whole place would change. They would clean up, and they would the service would go up, the morale would go up, and productivity would go up. So that was the one thing that I can say I was involved in.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. I know we're going to try to get them in, and that's the two-parters. We got those questions answered. George?
I think that for sure the thing that I was most directly involved in was when I was running a small business on Church Street, a film processing business in the day before the digital age. I helped to form an organization. There was a lot of resistance to the notion of a BIA, and then we formed an organization that was a step towards it. Now there is a well-functioning BIA there, and I provided some of the leadership to help to get that going. I think an area, there is some of this going on in Toronto, but I think about Bangladesh and Muhammad Yunus around microcredit and finance. I had the privilege of having breakfast with him when he was through Toronto a year ago or so, and I think that I find great inspiration in the way that they leaped over technology to use cellular phones and created so much entrepreneurial empowerment in Bangladesh with models like that. And I think we have opportunities like that in Toronto with, as an example, models of micro-composting. Instead of hauling everything away from an apartment building, using local residents and giving them opportunities for employment, microfinance could be part of that. So I looked at Bangladesh and Muhammad Yunus as inspiration.
Thank you, George. And Rocco?
Well, the proudest moment in terms of developing small businesses that turned out to be huge businesses was helping to found being one of the handful of founders of the Internet Advertising Bureau of Canada at a time in the mid-90s when people said, what the hell is this internet thing? And it was a very small business operation at the time. It's grown into an enormous industry, and that's how things happen, and that's fantastic. And I recently was given an award by the Internet Advertising Bureau for being one of the founders, and Advertising Age International recognized me as one of the top 15 internet innovators in the world on the basis of some of the work I did early on in the internet. An example of where it's done even better, quite frankly, is Silicon Valley. And I know people focus on the big businesses that have ended up coming out of that, but that confluence of universities, business, venture capital, to take seed ideas, to bring them out of the garage and to turn them into enormous wealth producers, phenomenal example to the world.
Well, very good. Great resume so far. And Rob?
Thank you. Definitely Rotary. Being a Rotarian, I learned so much from so many business people coming in and guest speaking and helping out people that want to start businesses. And Rotary obviously fundraises and gets people seed money to start their businesses off. And the learning experience about customer service is when I travel through Asia, especially through Hong Kong and Japan. The Asian community understands customer service. They will bend over backwards to make sure the customer's happy. And my father brought me over there many years ago and taught me this is customer service. This is exactly what you do. The customer is first and foremost, and there's two rules in selling. The first rule is the customer is always right. The second rule is reread the first rule. The customer is always right.
Thank you, Rob.
Well, one of the successes I'm most proud of is the fact that 15 years ago I took over as chair of Exhibition Place, and not too far from here, and that place was falling apart. And people said, you know what, let's get rid of this thing, let's build condominiums. That's what Robert Funk said, some other people said. And I said, absolutely not. This is really the foundation under which tons of business operates. You know, during the C&E, all the concessionaires, food and otherwise, the Liberty Grand, the BMO Field, the Direct Energy Center, the spin-off effects onto Liberty Village. And I've transformed that place from, you know, what are we going to do with this place? It's falling apart, might as well, maybe it's outlived its day, to what else can we do with this place, because it's so splendid, you know, because it is recreational, sports, entertainment, fun place for young and others alike. That's what I'm most proud of that transformation, which has incredible spin-offs in this area and across the city. Thank you.